Welcome to Sinister Heroes. I'm your host, Danny Iniquitous. Thank you for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, this is a channel about Dungeons and Dragons where we take a darker tone with everything we do here. So if you like edgier kind of content, definitely hit that like and subscribe button. Big thank you to our Patreon supporters. We love you guys. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. If you're interested in becoming a Patreon supporter, the link is in the description. And last but not least, our good friends at Dice Legion. Use the promo code Sinister, get 10% off all of your purchases. That out of the way, we're going to jump into this week's video. We're talking about Changelings. Eberron Rising from the Last War was one of the stronger books that come out for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. The reason why I say this is the world of Eberron includes the Shifter, the Changeling, the Kalistar, the Warforged, and the Artificer is included in the book. There is such a rich history involved in Eberron. Its lore goes back so far. It's got great stories about how that world is developed, the relationships between all the species that exist, and their long enduring backstories and how they relate to each other, and how they kind of just almost paralleled each other, raising into their current position and evolving into their current position, and how they've held on to their animosities against each other but still managed to still almost somewhat coexist. It's a beautiful working system of different species trying to get through and evolve and survive, and fighting between them for being different. It's a great story, and if you ever have the time or you ever wanted to dive into one of the settings in Dungeons and Dragons, Eberron is a great one to do so because of the feel, because of almost this medieval steampunk aesthetic, the machinery that's involved. It's very cool. It pulls you right in. It's definitely something worth checking out on its own. So your base abilities, you gain +2/+1 according to Monsters of the Multiverse. If you're using Eberron, you get +2 to Charisma and then a +1 to put wherever you want. In situations like that, most people just put 3 into Charisma. They usually rolled Bards, Sorcerers, or Warlocks because obviously they're super Charisma based, and tends to be the kind of norm for them. You're a Fae, so make sure to be of note in that, because that does affect what kind of spells can affect you, and that can be very, very advantageous depending on the setting that you're in or what kind of enemies you're fighting, because if it doesn't target Fae, then it doesn't work on you. You are medium or small, which you can choose at your point. You have a 30 walking speed, and that kind of rounds you out basically for your normal stuff. You do not gain dark vision. I want to put that in here because it's either 50-50 if you get them or you don't. And understand, not having dark vision isn't a huge crutch. I say this all the time, but there's definitely an advantageous way to play it and have the actual darkness of the game actually feel unique and feel like you're really exploring a dungeon, and try and pay a very serious attention to sounds and things you can see and other light sources moving, because it really changes the dynamics of what kind of encounter you're in when you're in dungeons or caves or anything. If there are living beings, even if they do have dark vision, a lot of times them carrying a torch makes a lot of sense anyway. Changeling Instincts. Thanks to your connection to the Fey realm, you gain proficiency with 2 of the following skills of your choice: Deception, Insight, Intimidation, Performance, or Persuasion. As a Changeling, and we're going to cover this in your next ability, you're going to want to have Deception. Not because you're necessarily always lying or because you're trying to deceive people for nefarious purposes, but because you're a Changeling, deception is almost inherent to your general survivability. You need that because changelings are not trusted. They are looked down upon. People will flat out attack you if they know you're a changeling. So it's something you really need to incorporate in your character. So definitely using deception seems like something that would fit in just as a survivability tool. Shape Changer. As an action, you can change your appearance and your voice. You determine the specifics of the changes, including your coloration, hair length, and sex. You can also adjust your height and weight, and can change your size between medium and small. You can make yourself appear as a member of another race, though your game statistics do not change. You can't duplicate the appearance of an individual you've never seen, and you must adopt a form that has the same basic arrangement of limbs that you have. Your clothing and equipment aren't changed by this trait. You stay in a new form until you use an action to revert to your true form or until you die. One of the things about this is making sure to understand that your clothing doesn't change. Meaning if you try and just walk out of a place, change your face, and walk back in, they're going to know it's you, because how often are people wearing the exact same clothing, specifically if you're wearing armor. One of the good things about being maybe a sorcerer is that you can wear mage armor. So you can just throw on clothing or swap clothing. Say you beat somebody up, knock them unconscious, take their clothing, put it on, don their appearance, and go. In which case it kind of reflects that bard College of Whispers, which works very well with this species. The Mantle of Whispers, where you get to wear the person's persona and have a little bit of knowledge about them. Those things work really well hand in hand. There's going to be a lot of things about the bard, and particularly the College of Whispers bard, that is going to make you kind of scream, oh, I want to be a changeling. The important thing to note is where you are using this. If you're in a social scenario, definitely swapping bringing a bag of holding with a change of clothes, or knocking someone out, or trying to impersonate someone is very, very important, which is why deception is one of the skills I suggested you take it earlier. Trying to pass you off as somebody else is great when you're trying to infiltrate for social advice, for trying to gain a little bit of insight as to what's going on. Say you know two characters are friends, you show up as one character, and you can change your voice to sound exactly like that character because you know they're friends with someone that you want to know more about, or what their motivations are. And you can use that to kind of fish some information. It's gutsy, it takes a lot of risk, but you could do that theoretically. It's important to note that it can be used defensively. Say you are a victim of a crime. Everyone has traveling clothes or something like that in almost all of the basic items you get for creating a character class. Don those, change how you look, walk out of town. It's a great way to avoid detection from unruly guards or anyone that you might have already agitated in a particular form. But it's a great way to have this unique double performance going on, where you're who you are maybe with the party, where you can be your natural self, and then when you exit that area, when you break camp, when you're going into towns, you put on this other persona that your party knows and refers to you as. You kind of get to play two characters at once, which can be a little bit of fun. Our final thoughts on the Changeling. If you're willing to be a gutsy player, then this is definitely the kind of species you want to do. If you want to play a Whispers Bard, where you're infiltrating as part of your class's kind of niche, this is for you. If you're looking to really, really change things up and take those risks and go out in town and go do things on your own, this really benefits you, because you can do all these great things with almost a clean slate every time you change clothing. It is something to note that you do want to get something that changes clothing, or you do want to pick up clothing pretty regularly as an expenditure of gold, which is a great way to interact with shopkeepers in order to find regular information about the town, whereas as opposed to just going shopping for just items and not having to bear any fruit for role-playing purposes. You can go there and you go, oh look, I'm just looking to buy some clothes. You know, I'm new in town, could you tell me about what's going on, or who the players are, or whatever. And that's your in. That can get you into a lot of places that might be difficult to do, or maybe just draw enough attention to yourself that someone might request you for help. The important thing about shape changing is remembering that you do not change your clothes. But outside of that, there's a plenty variety of what you can do with this ability. Say you screwed up with bad rolls, you can swap clothes, change face, try again. Like, that's a reasonable way to try and get through to something. The important thing that goes really under the radar about being a changeling is there's a fear of people knowing who you are. So you're carrying this secret with you a lot. And you don't know who to trust. And I've played characters that wore the faces of other characters, or were deceiving their way about being something. And keeping that secret from the party is a lot of fun. And the best part about it is when it finally comes through. Because you don't know the scenario you're in. And you can use this to your advantage. Say you're, transporting someone, or you're trying to get from point A to point B, and you get captured. But you know this guard, and you know personally what their leader looks like, or maybe a nobleman of that area. So you just shape change into them. And you if you do it quickly enough, they won't be able to really see who your true form is. You might wrap yourself in a cloak, do it underneath the cloak, and pull it out, and just sound just like them, and explain and try and say, look, I'm just trying to get out of town for a couple of days for whatever reason. And that might avoid you a conflict that you can't win, or buy you a few precious rounds to come up with something in order to get out of that scenario. Dungeons and Dragons is a game where creativity can do wonders. If you don't think of everything just as a mechanical action and combat, and you really take the role-playing perspective and the adventuring and exploration perspective and take those very, very seriously, you can come up with a lot of great ways to get in and out of things. All that being said, we're going to bring this video to a close. If you've played a Changeling, definitely put it in the comments. We'd love to hear your experiences being one. We'd love to hear what kind of crazy things you did, whether you even liked the ability shape change or just stayed as one particular form all the way through. Definitely let us know. Thank you to our Patreon supporters. If you're interested in becoming a Patreon supporter, the link is in the description. If you're interested in buying any ttrpg products, check out our good friends at Dice Legion. Use the promo code SINISTER. And all that being said and done, thank you for giving a spooky kid a chance.